In this video, I'm gonna show you how to reduce power on your spring-powered sniper rifle, such as the SSG11, SSG10A1, what have you. If it has a spring, you can cut it and therefore you can reduce the power. I have a random spring here. We will use it as our test subject. I also brought a couple of different tools and we will see how hard is it to do with different tools. We have a Dremel here. That's probably the best tool you can use for this particular purpose. We have big cutting pliers, we have smaller ones, and then we have small ones. Chances of you having this is quite high. Dremel, some people also have it. Anyway, we will test all of them and you will see for yourself what is the best way. I also brought sandpaper because at the end we will want to grind and make it flat. We don't want the sharp edge on the coil itself. And also I have a blowtorch so we can heat it up and actually squish it together, so it's pretty much like original. Before we get started, cut rather less than more, because if you once cut too much, it's very hard to add power again. Yes, you can use FPS adjuster rings to bring the power up, but you are just removing material from the thing that gives you power. We want to remove as little as possible. How much should you cut? Nobody knows. You will just have to try it. I would suggest to go with one coil or something in that area at a time. Definitely not a big chunk, because then it could also happen that the spring is shorter than the cylinder and it will just rattle in there and it will not even stay in place because it's just too short. Now let's get to the cutting itself. Where should we start? Let's just start with the most likely tool that you have, and this is probably gonna be the hardest one to get it done. Anyway, let's just try. It's just a wire, we just need to cut it, so let's just try to get in there, and now we will see if I have enough strength to actually do. All right, this is gonna be harder than I expected. I'm gonna try to put it more towards the back where the leverage will be bigger. And there we go. Okay. If you get it all the way back, you can actually achieve it even with these pliers, which is something I wasn't sure about because I know these can be tough, and it managed. All right. What we want to do now is to actually grind the sharp edge that we have here. So I'm just gonna use a sandpaper, grind it off. So it's nice and flat. And now I'm gonna use a blowtorch and I'm gonna replicate what we have on this uncut end. So it's nice and kind of touching the coil itself. I'm gonna try to replicate it on this end right here. So what we need to do, we need to heat it up, and then we will basically just bend it using some non-flammable surface, and we will see what we will achieve. What you are looking for is basically glowing red coil. That means it's soft. That means we can bend it however we need. I am getting closer to glowing red. Now let's try. Just push on something non-flammable. And you will see that I am not quite there yet. I would need to heat it up more, but we definitely achieved bend inwards. So if this would be touching something, it would not grind it too much. I'm gonna try to do it again. We will cut a little forward and I'm gonna try to press again. All right, there we go. This looks much better on the second try. You will see that it's basically sitting flat. Hopefully the camera gives you a good view of that. It's not pointy anymore, kind of looks almost like this. At this point you can do a little bit more sanding if you want to do so, just to make it flat. or just pop it in, test if this is actually the correct length. That would be pretty much it. You can do it with the most basic pliers and blowtorch. Now I reduce the power, we would test it. If it fits, then it fits. But where is the fun in that? Let's just try all the different tools, and I'm gonna show you if it gets any easier. All right, so let's try these bigger ones. And I can already see a problem with these. It's not as easy to get in the coil, so I would probably have to somehow bend it. Actually, getting somewhere in there, if I would want to go for the second coil, it's not easy, so I would probably just go ahead, cut the first part, and then just make my way inside to the length that I need, just one by one. But you can see that it's definitely much easier to cut it with these. Just go step by step, which is actually not a bad thing because it makes sure that you don't cut too much at a time if you don't do it multiple times in a row. Anyway, let's try these now. Probably gonna be super easy. I can get anywhere I need. Yeah, just like butter, very easy. And now let's try Dremel. If you are using a Dremel, be careful. These can actually shatter if you use high enough RPM, or if it's damaged, who knows. So let's make sure that we use protective eyewear, because one of these in your eye, not a good day. All right. And we will just cut. Super easy. Didn't take all that long. And now I actually don't even need the sandpaper. I can actually use the disc to flatten it a little bit. So I'm just gonna take the edge off. Just like that. That looks pretty good. And now I would just repeat the process with the blowtorch and flatten it again. No need to make this video any longer. This is how you can reduce the power in your spring-powered replica. Just don't cut too much and you will be safe.